there's a lot of bad things in life that affects you in many different ways, and a lot of it leads to you becoming lazy, not having money, being unfit, unsuccessful, and I'm going to be talking about five things in specific today, and the first one being internet addiction slash social media addiction. And I think a lot of people nowadays suffer from this for sure. Um, you're probably watching this on the internet right now, so I'm saying most likely anyone watching this probably has at least a minor addiction, or they wouldn't consider it an addiction. I don't consider myself addicted to the internet or social media, but I definitely am, at least to a minor level. But the major effects I would say from constant internet use, it all depends on what you're using it for. If you're just using it for work, then that's fine, but most of it's for consumption of media, right? It's for doing things that are for enjoyment, and I would say this generally leads to a large release in dopamine, right? You continuously go and you're on there, you're watching things that sort of entertain you, and it sets off chemicals in your brain, it releases dopamine and you feel good, and then you want to come back for more, and you just end in this endless cycle. This is why things such as TikTok, Instagram right now are super popular, YouTube Shorts. A lot of people are just consuming this for hours and hours a day because it's just an endless loop of just wanting more and more. And when you're not doing it, you feel bad, you feel like you want more. But then the worst part is that constant consumption leads to you actually feeling even a bit worse. It makes you feel bad, and then you feel almost like a loser, sort of, I would say, and then you become even more lazy due to it, and it's a cycle that makes you slowly worse and worse, and it's why a lot of people these days are in a deep dark hole where they're just consuming all the time. And I've definitely been through this. I would say like a few years ago, I was watching TikTok every single day for at least 1 to 3 hours per day, every single day, and I was just constantly. Honestly, I'm surprised that I didn't notice it as much as the time. I noticed more after I stopped doing it that I realized I really had a problem and I was really losing a lot of time. I'd say time is probably almost the most important thing. There are these effects that you get from constant stimulation to your brain. It's harder to focus. You go to study, you go to work, and it's harder to focus. You get tired easier. But losing this time over such a long period of time, if you're spending 2 hours of your day, which is I'd say let's say the average person sleeps for 8 hours, you're sleeping for 2 out of the 16 available hours of the day, 1/8 of the day, 12.5% of the time you have active in the day is spent on social media. This clearly cannot be good for you, and it clearly is not a healthy thing to be doing. But people just can't stop themselves, and I don't blame anyone. I'm not saying you're a bad person or you're lazy or you're a loser for doing that. But what I'm saying is you need to be aware and you need to try and cut it out, you know? It's good to just go cold turkey, I reckon. I think internet is one of those things where if you can brave through those first couple of days, it just gets better and better, and then it's a good resetter, and it's not like drugs or, let's say, tobacco, cigarettes, which when you stop doing it, your body's like craving it. You don't really get that. You just like whenever you're bored, it's real hard to just not be like, oh, I'll just look at this, I'll just look at that. But anyway, I'll move on to the second thing because I'm kind of rambling at this point. But the second thing I want to talk about is a poor diet, and I think a poor diet is pretty bad. It's very bad, I'll say. Obviously, it depends on your metabolism. Someone like for me, I feel like I can get away a lot more with eating a poor diet and not sort of see the short term effects. Obviously, you develop long term effects if depending on how poorly you're eating. But in terms of for the general person, your general life, a poor diet, obviously, everyone kind of knows what it does to you. You're going to be lazier. You can lead to poor, like, overall choices when you're making those bad choices and just generally eating bad food. Doing bad things leads to doing more negative things in your overall life, and it is generally quite expensive also to be eating bad food, I would say. A lot of people who have a poor diet, they're probably going and getting takeaways very often, which is also it's a lot worse than even cooking at home. Even if you're cooking at home and you're eating kind of crappy, going out and doing that fast food is even worse because everything's loaded with fat, and everyone knows an excessive amount of fat is not good for you. So overall, you're losing money, you're ruining your health, and you'll find that a lot of the food generally is not even that much better. If you learn how to cook well and cut down on your fat. Like recently I've stopped my bulking diet and I've been cutting, so I'm just eating I'm trying to learn how to cook lower fat and like a lot healthier meals. And I'd say it's honestly way easier than people think. The food is way better than people think. Like it's actually, I'm honestly amazed and I love it. You don't, it's just, it's wonderful. And I'm just going to move on from that because I think I don't need to talk too much about diet. People can learn from health experts on the internet. But the third thing I want to talk about is drugs, alcohol, vaping, cigarettes, all these types of consumptions that people do. A lot of it's due to anxiety, I would say. Even for my dad, he was a smoker for a long period of time and he drinks very regularly right now. And he almost believes that it's not even possible for him to quit. He thinks that he might be true, you don't know, but he thinks that if he just stops taking it, it's just he has uncontrollable anxiety, and he thinks that there are no other ways for this to be done, for him to maintain that anxiety because of work. And he honestly might be true, I don't know, but from my perspective, or for myself, I would say there are much better ways in terms of for your health, for your mental health, for your wallet. Is just finding other excerpts of energy and other releases, such as I'd say meditation is a massive one for me. Just meditating like 10 minutes a day, just sitting there, not thinking about anything, not doing anything, just sitting there with your own thoughts. So you can do it either thinking, not thinking. Both I would say are good releases. You could even blend it a bit of both. 5 minutes where you think about the day, think about what's happened, think about issues in your life, and then maybe 5 minutes where you just do nothing. I think both are important, to be honest, but it's also very expensive. You'll find that a lot of people who have these habits generally have less money on average, right? Because depending on their rate, they're going to be spending $50, $100 a week every week, and over the course of years, a year, and then 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, it just adds up. And the amount of money you could have, let's say you put that into a stock account and you just build that up, that's over the course of 20, 30 years, that's over 6 figures. Can be even multiple 6 figures if you invest correctly. But it's just not worth it, I know it's way harder than that, than just saying you just stop doing it. And I guarantee you, no one who has these habits, if they heard me say that, that's not persuading anyone. But the more you spread this, I think if everyone just tries to spread this idea more and more, it's just a positive thing to spread. And you just got to try, get your family members, if your dad drinks or smokes, or if your brother or whoever, you just need to be there and try to support them as much as you can and try to help them cut that out, because your body doesn't need it to live. Your body can remedy these negative thoughts and such in other ways and other aspects. But I'll move on from that. The fourth thing I want to talk about, and I know a lot of people around my age who I would say have this issue, and it's chasing a woman, spending time chasing a woman. And I guess it might be something that's just hard from my perspective, because I've been with my girlfriend for over 4 years, 4 years and 4 months now. So I've never really, since I've been 17, I haven't really tried to chase women in a sense, and I haven't ever had that urge, obviously. But I've got a lot of mates who've spent a lot of money on expensive cars, expensive clothing. They just overall spend a lot of time. Time's a big one. Trying to match with girls on Hinge, Tinder. They're messaging heaps of girls. They just spend a lot of time actively trying to attract females, and it just never works. Honestly, you find that 90% of these guys who spend and invest so much time and effort in chasing girls, it's almost never effective. They almost get nowhere, and you just need to give it time, You just need to sit back and just let it happen. Just be yourself. I know a lot of people just they don't believe that. They just can't get over the fact that they think that they need to put on all this. But I think if you're at that point, you just need to step back and look back on the situation and be like, I need to work on myself as a person. Physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever. You need to work on yourself before you're just going around chasing women, because you're probably just not ready. Well, I'd say you're definitely not ready if you're doing this, if you're spending heaps of money and as such. You just gotta take your time. Everyone finds a partner when they're ready and when it's meant to happen in their life. So you just need to give it time. And the last thing is something super basic that I thought would be interesting just to say, is that making your bed. You can see it's made in the back. So the funny thing was, I didn't actually make it this morning when I got up for work. I was absolutely knackered. I don't know why. I slept probably 10 minutes later than normal, but I didn't make my bed, and I've had a pretty crappy day, and this sort of backs up what I'm saying, what I'm going to say about it. And I think that making your bed every single morning is a massive important thing for setting up your day, because it's all these positive actions that you take in your day. It sets up a loop where once you finish one thing, it helps you, makes the finishing the next thing easier, and then the next thing, and this loop goes around and around. Each thing, the more things you do and you get done, the easier it is to do the next thing, and it just keeps growing and it builds. And then when you complete a whole day, it then builds up again, and then the next morning you wake up and you're like, okay, I had a good day. I'm doing things. If I do these things, it makes my day better, and then you build up this positive loop, and then for months you can just go on doing everything, action. You've got these actions, you've got these things that you want to do, and you're just going bang, 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 getting everything done, and it just builds up your confidence. It builds up your mind. It makes your whole overall life just better. And I experienced this early on in the year, at the start of this year, first time I made a video on YouTube. At that time I was just doing everything, and for months and months and months, bang, 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 just built up this positive reinforcement, and I was having a cracking year. Unfortunately, until I got sick multiple times, which sort of threw me off track. But you have to learn that this is life, and you have to bounce back, and that's what I'm starting from the last couple of weeks since I've recovered from being sick as a dog for a while. I'm trying to come back stronger than ever, trying to focus on my diet heavier, training harder in the gym, trying harder at work, trying to do a better job, trying to build better ideas into a video and be able to give more value. And I think overall you just need to keep building up. You just need to build up your mind and just build up your character as a person to be better and to be happier and to have more to give to people in the world. And there's a few extra things that I want to throw in there. I'm not gonna dive into, but I'd say porn is something you need to avoid. Money, obviously, you need to just be better with your money, and obviously, and another thing is friends. Who you have as your friends is also an important thing. You got to have the right people around you. If you're filled with negative, what's it called? If you've got this negative energy, I would say, I don't know the best way to explain it, but if you have all these negative influences around you doing bad things, it's just going to slowly seep into you, and that's who you're going to become. You need to surround yourself, not fill yourself, that sounds sus. You need to surround yourself with good, positive people who can help build you and help back you up, and all together you can work together to improve and become better people. And that's what I'm trying to do. I want to build a little community where people are just positive to each other, and we discuss, business and ideas and how we can become better people, not just for money, for just to have a good life and to raise good kids. That's my goal in life, and see some like-minded people. But anyway, thank you for listening.